everyone, and welcome out to the fifth part of this 5-part series on managing troop finances. You'll be able to ask questions, and we'll answer the questions either live during the training or if you're watching the recording, you can leave your questions also, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. I am Sean Caston, Volunteer Resource Manager for Girl Scouts of Black Diamond, and I'm joined by Roberta Richmond. She is the Chief Finance and Business Officer.
Yes.
There we go. All right. I always have trouble with that one. All right. Today's session will be for troop leaders, assistant leaders, and troop treasurers. We require this training for all money handling positions when you first start out with a troop, so you'll know what to expect. But then we want you to review it once your troop actually has some money and you begin to manage your troop's finances. At the end of the training, we'll provide a link for training credit for the series. In order to get credit for the Managing Troop Finances series, you have to complete all 5 of the series. There is a shorter training that's available on the website, and then once all of these trainings are done, which would be tonight, I'm going to go through and compile them down into a brand new training. So you guys are ahead of the game. And the next session is going to be on iGirls, so if you aren't involved with iGirls, then you don't need to attend the next session. But anyway, if you have any questions as we go along, just comment and we'll go ahead and get started. The mission of Girl Scouting is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. This happens when girls make decisions, actively participate, and connect with other girls in a group setting. It is our job as staff and volunteers to provide all the tools necessary to do this, helping girls decide what they want to do and coaching them as they earn and manage money to pursue their goals. This is an integral part of the Girl Scout leadership experience. Your Girl Scout troop plans and finances its own activities with your guidance. At the same time, the girls learn many valuable skills that serve them throughout their lives. There are lots of materials available to tell you what Girl Scouts do, but the most important thing is to remember how Girl Scouts do things. We want troop programs to aim for the following. We want them to be girl-led. We want the girls to lead the way. Even little girls can be involved in this process. We want it to be hands-on, which means that they should be actively engaged, not just sitting and watching and listening. We want it to be cooperative. It means we want to work together as a team to accomplish big things. It is surprisingly easy for adults to make decisions for girls and to allow them to become passive observers. Keep girl interests at the forefront of your mind. While finances are big people business, it's also important to keep our girls and families in the loop with all financial decisions. We want girls to be involved in deciding how they earn funds, what the funds should go for. We just need to give them boundaries and choices. Our goal is complete transparency with girls and parents and guardians. As Girl Scouts, we want to base everything we do on the Girl Scout promise and law. In managing troop finances, we always want to remember these principles and let our decisions reflect the promise and law. The important pieces we want to directly apply to finances: we want to be honest and fair, responsible for what I say and do, and we want to use resources wisely. Okay, so here's a recap of our first 4 episodes. In the first episode, we talked about the volunteer money handling positions, as well as volunteer policies that relate to troop resources. We have these policies in place so that our volunteers know what to follow. These are risk management things. There's a whole section on risk management, and it lists grounds for disqualification, volunteer restrictions, and release from volunteer assignments. That list includes, but is not limited to, refusal to provide an approved background check, falsifying or making material omissions on council records, misappropriation of any Girl Scout funds, which includes unpaid volunteer debt for product sales programs, and then things like shoplifting, fraud, false pretenses, embezzlement, theft, forgery, and worthless checks will also get you disqualified. Girl Scouts of Black Diamond reserves the right to disqualify and or release any volunteers from service if the volunteer or prospective volunteer's actions are inconsistent with Girl Scout values, principles, policies, or procedures. That was all in episode 1. Episode 2, we talked about what troop resources can be used for. We looked at budgeting for the troop. We encouraged the yearly memberships to be budgeted for first out of the troop funds before any other trips or anything like that. The troops are designed to be self-sufficient. Once you become a member, your membership should take care of itself each year through the product sales and money-earning activities. It's the volunteer leadership's responsibility to ensure that all members have their memberships taken care of before you start budgeting for trips to Disney World or other fun trips. The remainder of the expenses can be lumped into a few categories, and it makes keeping track of finances so much easier. In the second episode, we also looked at budgeting. We talked about 3 essential questions we need to look at when dealing with a troop budget. What do we need to pay for? How much money do we have? And if we don't have enough, how do we get the remainder? We also looked at that last point, how do you get the remainder? We talked about troop dues and council-wide program sales programs, including the fall sale and the cookie sale. And these are the 2 big fundraisers. Nope, I said the F word. I did. Oh no. Those are 2 big money-earning activities that your troop can be involved with. And in the third episode, we looked at supplemental money-earning activities, including bake sales, that kind of thing. And we looked at troop sponsorships and troop donations. In the fourth episode, which was last week, we talked about the troop transaction spreadsheet for tracking income and expenses. We looked at the volunteer toolkit for daily recording or weekly or monthly recording of finances and sharing that information with other leaders and the parents in the troop. We also looked at the volunteer toolkit for end of the year reporting, where you submit your end of the year finance report to council. And then we also looked at the web form where you can also submit your end of the year report. So there's multiple ways of doing that. So if you have any questions about any of those 4 things, make sure you go back through the 4 previous trainings and see what we expanded on and talked about. You can download the troop transaction spreadsheet on our website at www.bdgsc.org. Go to volunteer and then down to volunteer resources. And then you'll click on troop transaction spreadsheet. And you can open that with Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, Open Office, and there's all kinds of apps for iPhones and Androids to open spreadsheets. Just a quick reminder, because again, like I said last time, everybody's going to have this question because they're going to try to do it the wrong way and it's not going to work. You have to enter in on that spreadsheet, you have to enter in the portion that you're going to be paying to council. You have to enter that in as a separate deposit. Make sure you do that. I've got it highlighted on the screen there where you put in the part that you're going to keep and the part that council gets paid back. If you don't, the spreadsheet will come out all wonky and you'll have to figure out why it's not working right. But I'm telling you right now, that's why it's not working right, okay? It took me a while to figure that out, but I eventually figured it out. So I'm telling you guys. All right, so with that warning, we're going to jump in to today's session. We're going to talk about troop disbandment, troop-to-troop transfers, troop splits and merges, and we're going to finish up with financial assistance. If you have any questions along the way, make sure you comment in the discussion log, and either we will answer it or one of the other staff members that's in the discussion will answer it for you guys. So, all right, I'm going to hand it over to Roberta now. Oh, that's still me. There we go. All right. So Roberta's going to take over and talk to us about troop disbandment.
Okay, remember we've talked about this in a couple of the sessions, but it's important to remember that money raised, earned, or received by a Girl Scout troop becomes the property of the troop. It is never the property of an individual troop member, girl, or adult. So all monies raised belong to the troop. When a troop disbands, you have a troop that decides they no longer want to remain a Girl Scout. If and when they disband, all the troop assets are to be given to the service unit administrator, and what they do is they take that amount and they forward it to the council within 30 days of disbanding. We hold those funds for a period of 2 years, and if the troop is reactivated during that time period, we return the monies to the troop. If for some reason there are girls in that troop that the troop disbands, but those girls want to be involved in another troop, what we will do is prorate the money that is left in that troop when that troop disbanded and send the portion with those girls whether they go to another troop. At the end of the second year, any funds that are unclaimed, that those girls are no longer a part of Girl Scouting, will be returned to the service unit that that troop was involved in to be used for girl programming. A troop-to-troop transfer is when you have an individual girl move from one troop to another troop within the council. Because what we talked about a few minutes ago, the money belongs to the troop, no transfer of funds is required. Now, just because it's not required does not mean that sometimes money goes with them. If the troop votes to pay for the transferring girls' membership, they may do so, but just remember, it is not a requirement. So if you have a troop-to-troop transfer and a girl comes to your troop, what you're getting is the girl. There may or may not be any funds coming with that girl. In the situation of a troop splitting is when a portion of the troop leaves the troop and starts their own troop. If an entire troop splits or divides or bridges into two separate new troops, resulting in that first troop no longer being there, the current troop number has to go away. So in a true troop split and two new troops are formed, the monies are prorated and they go to the two new troops based on the number of girls going to each troop. However, if the initial troop is still an active troop, monies belong to the troop. So the troop, once again, can choose and vote to send some money with the girls that are bridging over or dividing out. This situation happens a lot if you have a troop that has K and 1 daisies. So the second year, your first graders may want to bridge up to a brownie troop. And, you know, in a lot of our situations, that troop just gets bigger and it becomes a multi-age level. But in some situations, those girls would actually move out of that K1 troop into a brownie troop. If that K1 Daisy troop is still in existence, no funds are required to go with the ones bridging up to brownies. Now we do have, you know, the girls normally, the troop leader with the girls will normally talk about, you know, what kind of activities have they done. You know, they may still want to make sure they cover her membership, but that's a discussion that needs to be had. But if the entire troop divides and goes and there's no more of that initial troop, then it would be prorated and distributed. But if the initial troop is still in existence, then the money stays with that initial troop. Sometimes we'll have troops that merge. So when a portion of a troop leaves their troop and joins an already existing troop. All of these situations go back to that if that original troop is still active, that money belongs to that original troop. Once again, the girls in the troop can elect to distribute funds to the new troop, but it is not a requirement. If a girl comes into a troop after the product sales, say like you've got a new girl that joins, we've got fall product, well that's not a really big sale. The cookie sale, say you've got cookie sales, you've got your budget, you've got things planned for April or May, and a girl joins your troop the 1st of April and the cookie sale is done. You can't penalize the girl for not participating in the sales. So what you want to do is you want to rethink the activities that are coming later in the year, such as if you have an event scheduled for the 1st of May. You may have to readjust your budgeting a little bit to see if you have enough funds that if you had intended to pay for an event like Camp Creepy for all the girls, and then you get a new girl, you would really need to pay for that new girl as well as the other girls. And if you find out it's going to be a little challenge, you may have to step back and say, you know what, we were planning to pay 100% for all the girls, but now we don't quite have enough money, so we're going to ask each parent to pay $2 of the event. So you always look at it, to see. We don't want to penalize them. We want them to have as good a Girl Scout experience as the girls that have been there all year, but it's just that they're coming in at a later time. If she's coming from another troop, it would be advisable to contact the prior troop leader to see if they have voted to send any funds with her. But again, it is not required. So, that's the main thing to remember, that, monies belong to a troop. They belong to the troop that earned it at that time. So, if there's splits, if there's disgruntled parents, the biggest thing we find is that right after the cookie sale, you'll have parents contact us and say, my daughter sold 600 boxes of cookies or 1,000 boxes of cookies, and they haven't done anything, so we're going to take that money and we're going to start our new troop over here. No, you can't do that. Monies belong to the troop that the girl is associated in at the time that she made the sales. So the time she did the cookie program is the troop that would get those troop proceeds. And if that girl and parent wants to start another troop, that's great, because not every, unfortunately we have issues that people can't get along. But if they want to start another troop, that's fine, but they cannot. It is not a requirement for them to take any money whatsoever with them. So, disbandment, transfers, merges, splits, those are, issues that we don't have a lot of, but there's, if you just remember, if that original troop is still alive and kicking, then all monies belong to that troop. Now, as in every Girl Scout troop, the girls can choose to say, hey, we would like to, send some money with her. The girls can do that. But if they choose not to, that is not, shame on you. It's just, that's just the way it is. And if there are no questions, I'm going to hand it back over to Sean.
Okay. We'll give just a minute to get the lag on the interwebs.
The interwebs.
Yeah, the interwebs. But I haven't seen any questions so far on troops, all these different transactions that happen that could affect the finances of the troop. But if you have any questions as we go on, just jump on in there, and we will go on. Oh, wrong one again.
No, don't show me.
Okay, so financial aid. We're going to talk about financial aid, what's available, and what impact it has when you take financial aid. So financial aid is available for several things in our council. This funding, it comes from our operating budget and from donations specifically marked for certain financial aid purposes. Financial aid is not available for the troop leader to just hand out. But they are responsible for making sure that troop members know what is available and how it impacts the council and the troop. We're going to look at two different areas of financial aid for girls and financial aid for volunteers. Okay, so we'll start with girls. We want Girl Scouting to be available for any girl who wants to be involved, regardless of income, life, anything about their life. One way we encourage this is by offering financial aid for the $25 membership fee. This fee goes directly to GSUSA. It does not go to Black Diamond. So when we provide financial aid for a girl's membership, the council actually pays the $25 on behalf of the girl to GSUSA. This is on an as-needed basis. If the family really can afford it, encourage them to go ahead and invest in Girl Scouting. Remember that if the financial aid is used, that money will not be available for another girl who may need it even more. and it won't be able to be used for programming. There are funds marked for this, but they are very limited. This is why we encourage every troop to become self-sufficient and rely on the fall product and cookie sales to make sure their memberships are paid for the next year. Not only do the girls learn how to manage money and budget for essential items first, but knowing that they earned another year of Girl Scouting makes it even more valuable to them rather than just getting it paid for by the council. Parents or guardians can apply for financial aid during the registration process by checking the checkbox on the payment screen for financial assistance. For girls, it's automatic. They just go through the process. There's also a membership opportunity fund application available on our website if you're submitting a paper registration. If you go to our website, bdgsc.org, and you search for OPP Fund, Opportunity Fund, you will find the financial aid forms for membership as well as the forms for girl and adult events, which we will look at in just a second. Alright, so the Membership Opportunity Fund application, this form must be completed by the parent or guardian. The troop leader cannot fill out this form on behalf of the family. Okay, the family or the girl's parent or guardian must fill out this form. There's certain eligibility requirements, including the applicant must be or would be unable to participate without the Membership Opportunity Fund. Applications may be eligible for opportunity funds up to twice a year. So if they apply for membership and then apply for an event, that's twice a year. If the second experience is significantly different from the first. Okay, so you could do 2 events or membership and 1 event. The applicant can't owe debt to council. So any kind of product sales debt, if they have that debt, they cannot apply for opportunity funds. Some things to note. A letter will be emailed or mailed notifying the applicant of the decision and the financial amount. So again, if you are not the person applying for the financial aid, don't apply for them because they're going to be notified that somebody applied for financial aid. So they're going to figure out who it is. Black Diamond does not provide assistance to an entire troop. So individually, they can apply, that's fine, but you cannot just turn in a bunch of memberships and say, these are all financial aid. Okay, that has to be individuals. Black Diamond makes every effort to provide financial support so that no girl is denied participation in a Girl Scout experience due to a lack of funds. However, keep in mind that the opportunity funds are limited. Okay, the second thing that we do for girls, and we've already mentioned it, is we want to provide financial aid for girls who cannot afford to go to council events. Okay, you find the Girl Opportunity Fund application on our website the same way as you find the membership. You search for Op Fund. All applications will be reviewed, and based on the information given, a partial financial aid amount will be given to supplement the member's payment. Okay, so we will not be able to pay the full member or the full event price for every member that wants financial aid. But what we do is on that form, it says the troop is able to pay this amount, the family is able to pay this amount, this is the amount that we need to cover. Okay, so we'll look at that, and if it's too much, then we'll be able to drop it down. We'll make judgment calls on that kind of thing. It is the member's responsibility to have anything that is over and above the opportunity fund to be paid for prior to the event. So if it's a $30 event and we approve $15, then the troop and the parent guardian must come up with that remainder of $15. Again, if you go to the website, search for Op Fund, you'll find the financial aid forms for memberships as well as girl and adult events. And this is the Girl Opportunity Fund application for programs. It's the same basic form, just a different color. It's prettier. It's got pink in it.
It's for girls.
Yeah. So the same thing with membership. The girl would be unable to participate unless they receive financial assistance. Twice a year, same thing. Must have participated in at least one of the product sales. Okay, so this is, you have to make that first step. You have to be participating in one of the sales before you can receive financial aid. And the last one, you cannot owe debt to the council. All right, the same other rules apply. We don't apply it to the whole troop. We do not provide assistance for individual troop trips. So if your particular troop is going on a trip by yourselves, you're on your own to come up with the funding for that. Council will not pay that for just troop trips. It has to be a council level event. Yeah, same thing. Okay, so those are all the same thing. This form can be used for council-sponsored events. It can also be used for service unit day camps. Okay, that is the one non-council thing. It is council, but it's service unit level. But an individual troop level is not going to be covered under financial aid. And the third thing that it can be used for is a GSUSA destination event. Okay. All right, so that's girls. Let's see if anybody has any questions. No, just me. Okay. There are funds marked to provide financial aid for memberships for certain volunteers who are necessary for troop safety and leadership, but cannot afford to pay their membership fee. Okay, this fund is limited and only given on an as-needed basis, just like the girls. Okay, again, troops should budget funds to become self-sufficient and rely on the fall product and cookie sales to secure memberships for the next year. Yes, troops can use troop funds to pay for volunteer memberships, as long as the troop makes that decision. Okay, just remember that if you use these funds to pay for volunteer memberships, you won't have them available for girls. But that's a decision you guys have to make. So adults can go to the website, www.bdgsc.org, and click on volunteer, and then volunteer underneath of that, and scroll down to get started. Okay, and under that box, you're going to see three options. You can click on I do not need financial aid for my volunteer role, and that means you're going to pay for it. Or you can click on I am a returning volunteer and I need financial assistance, or I am a new volunteer and I need financial assistance. Okay, those last two will take you to a web form, and then you'll fill out information. The first thing you'll have to fill out is what position you are applying for. Okay, Black Diamond only offers adult financial aid to volunteers who impact girl to adult ratio or perform a vital function in the troop, but cannot afford to pay the membership fee. So if you are just an adult who shows up and you want to support your troop, then we do not offer financial aid for adult members. Okay, you have to be in one of these positions that's on the screen now. The one position that is not listed other than adult member is troop support volunteer. Okay, the troop support volunteer does not have to have a background check. They are not an approved position for financial aid or girl to adult ratio. You'll need to answer some questions about your household income and then fill in information needed to complete your registration. And then once that's approved, you'll be notified and the process will be started to get your background check and get you into that position. All right, so the first thing we paid was memberships for volunteers. The second is we offer financial aid for background checks. Okay, we want to provide volunteers who are needed for, again, girl-adult ratio, but can't afford the fees involved. Okay, we also want to take care of girl safety and transportation. Okay, drivers are essential. We want good quality people who can drive back and forth that have background checks and memberships and positions. Okay, they have to have the background checks every 3 years, just like everybody else. Background checks, the base price is $13.95 with an additional 50 cents for every name change. So anytime you've gotten married, then it's an additional 50 cents. Now, specific county and state courthouses charge additional fees. So if you've moved around the country a lot, if you've moved from out of the country, your background check could get pretty expensive. And we want to help out, and we have funds available for background checks for all the positions that were on the screen earlier. During the checkout screen of your background check, there'll be an option for counsel pay, and you can select that, and counsel will pay for it. It is at this. I don't know that they're ever going to change it, but it's an all or nothing kind of payment. So if you choose financial aid, then counsel is paying for all of your background check. Okay, you can do a partial payment. You go through the normal process. Counsel will pay for it. All you need to do is write out a check for whatever amount you can pay and mail it into counsel, and put on your memo line that you want it to go to the financial aid for background checks, and it'll go into that budget, and then it'll be replaced for somebody else to use. Okay, so all that being said, one request I have, and it's good, a good use of resources. Okay, if you are just needing a background check for one overnight event, and you are not one of these approved positions, okay, we can do that. We can set it up. We can send it out to you. Do not use financial aid for that unless you absolutely cannot afford to do it. Okay, if you are just doing it for a one overnight event, you are not a position that is going to be impacting these girls for girl to adult ratio the whole year. Okay, the reason we give these finances for background checks is to make sure that we have volunteers for the whole year who are willing to serve in those positions. So again, if you can do a partial payment, that's fine. And if you're just doing it for a one night event, then be responsible and take care of it on your own. All right, so the third thing is events. Okay, we can provide partial financial aid for volunteers in positions who are needed for that girl to adult ratio, or who provide girl safety or transportation to and from events. Okay, we provide help for those who cannot afford to pay for council events on their own. It is your responsibility to pay for these events, but if you cannot go and you are essential to take the rest of the troop, then we do offer financial aid. It's the same form. It's essentially the same form, except for it says adult on the top of it. It can be found the same way. Go into the website, search for op form, print it off, fill it out, mail it in. The form will be reviewed and evaluated for financial need. If it is not an automatic approval, you are not guaranteed to be given any financial aid, and it's not guaranteed how much you'll be given. Okay, and anything that's left over is the responsibility of either the troop or the volunteer. The fourth thing that we do for volunteers is we offer financial aid for approved volunteers. That means the positions that we mentioned earlier that get financial aid for membership. And if you're an approved volunteer and you want to take trainings that have a fee associated with them. Okay, for example, the OWLS weekend. If you wanted to go to that training, we offer financial aid for that. If the volunteer cannot afford the full cost of the training, and you can show that, then we can offer some assistance. It's the same form, the Adult Opportunity Fund application. It's used the same way as the Girl Fund. If you go to the website and then down to Adult Op Fund application, you can print that off and mail it in, and it'll go through the same review process just like the others. Okay. Again, that same form can be used for events and volunteer trainings. Just like with the Girl Opportunity form, the adult one has eligibility requirements and instructions on it and things that you can and cannot do. Same requirements: must be a registered member, must be or would be able to unable to participate without the opportunity funds. You can receive it twice in a year, and you cannot owe debt to Black Diamond. and it must be completed by the person making the request. So again, troop leaders, you cannot fill this out for your volunteers. They have to do it on their own. They have to request it. All right, as we stated at the beginning of this training, as Girl Scouts, we want to base everything we do on the Girl Scout Promise and Law. In managing troop finances, we always want to remember these principles and let our decisions reflect the essential elements of Girl Scouting. Okay, we always want to be honest and fair, responsible for what we say and do, and especially for financial aid, we want to use our resources wisely. Using our resources wisely is a key principle with financial aid. You can let girls and volunteers know what is available to them, and if they want to take up the opportunity, then that's fine. But if people abuse it, it will diminish very quickly, and we won't have enough supply to cover the demand. All applicants need to be honest, and if there is truly a need, we would love to help out our fellow Girl Scouts. If we keep all these things and all these elements in mind, we will keep ourselves, our troop, and our council above suspicion, and we will become masters of managing troop finances. So, that's it. That is the 5-part series. Let's see if we have any questions. All right, Fan says, in the past, we paid for memberships for girls out of troop funds, and when it came to beginning of meetings, girls would actually not come back, and it wasted our funds. When should we provide payment for girl memberships? That has been a problem. If we wait for beginning of fall, we don't have the funds in the beginning of the membership year. We try to use funds for girls who participate in that current year. We never really know if these members are going to return. Roberta, do you have any insight into that?
I think troops have done that a couple of different ways. I know that is an issue because you've got, at $25 a girl, even if you have 2 or 3 girls not come back and you've already paid for them. I guess it sounds like you have the money designated for that. You just hate losing that money. We have several troops that what they do is they ask for a commitment from the parents before they redo funds. And what they'll do is if the parents commit to it, they'll go ahead and pay, for the people that have committed to that next year. And they don't do 100% of the memberships at one time. They will, contact the parents and say, you know what, we need to pay for next year. This is the amount of money that we have to take out of our troop to do that. Now, and they say, if you're not sure you're coming back, tell us now. Because what we can do is set aside that money that we were going to pay now and keep it in the troop account this summer and this fall instead of waiting for you to, earn more money. Just keep those monies aside to where in the fall, if those girls come back, you've got the money to cover their membership. But if they don't come back, you have that money you can use for other programming.
Okay. All right, let's see if there's any other questions. I don't see any. I went ahead and posted the link for the training credit into the discussion, and the course that you guys are taking, and I've also put the link on the screen. If you manually type it in, it's pretty easy, a lot easier than all the random numbers of the ones we've had in the past. But you can put that in, and then the course that you guys just took is, you'll pick it from a drop-down menu, and the title is Managing Troop Finances 202, Part 5. Okay, this is, again, the 5th part of the series, the last one. Yay! And the code for today's training, which is also in the discussion log, is MTF202, the number 5, and training. Make sure you keep it all lowercase and all together, no spaces. And it is only good for this course, and you are on your honor not to share this with anybody who hasn't taken the course, even though it's posted in the log so they could just get it if they wanted to, but it is on your honor that you are not going to share that with anyone who has not taken the course. Okay, I'll leave that for just a second. And it's in the log also. Alright, so we've come a long ways. We covered all the first section, which feels like a month ago, which, hey, it was a month ago. we covered all the responsibility, what the troop funds can be used for, how to set up a bank account. Then the second one was budgeting dues and proceeds from product sales. Then we covered supplemental money earning activities, sponsorships, donations, recording and reporting finances, and then tonight we covered troop disbandments, transfers, splits, and merges, as well as financial assistance. Okay, so that's the 5-part series. If you've completed all of them, then you've done really awesome. You've hung in with us, and you've been part of this new style of training. And we want to get your feedback. If you would just shoot an email over to customer care real quick, and at customercare@bdgse.org, and just let them know, hey, I like this training, or hey, I didn't like this training. Put on there, attention Sean Caston, and it'll come straight to me, and I'll know. So don't say anything too mean, because I know who you are. But all right, so the next session is next week. Oh no, it's not next week. Yeah, okay. So that is a correction that I need to make and didn't make. Let me change my little pen here. Can I do it on there? Yeah, there we go. The next session is not next week. We are moving it until later. I don't even remember. Do you remember the date we set?
Did we set a date?
Yeah, I think we did. It's on the event. We'll send out a notification whenever.
Is it in November?
Yeah.
It's November the 6th.
Okay, so November the 6th is the next date for the
Wait a minute. That might be our meeting. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Scratch
Here it
that.
is. November the 14th.
November the 14th. There we go. So we'll. I've already updated the event, but I just completely forgot to change the training, the slide for it. But so, what was that date again? 14th? November 14th, yeah. Make sure you come back for iGirls if you have iGirls that you deal with.
Yeah.
If not, then you're done. You can complete the training credit, and you're done for Managing Troop Finances Series 202. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them into the question log, and we will get back with you. Or if it's a couple months down the road, or if it's a question about something that is not related to troop finances, and you're not sure who to ask about it, call customer care. Email customer care, get a hold of customer care. They're your go-to people for any question. They can filter it out to whoever it needs to go to. The phone number is on the screen, 304-345-7722, and email customercare@bdgsc.org. And that is the best way to get a hold of anybody in council, is to get a hold of them, and then the case is created and it's assigned to them. It's a pretty streamlined process. So if you guys have any questions, I think Roberta's going to head out of here, but I'm going to stay on. Oh, wrong one again. So I'm going to stay on for another minute or two, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and post them in the question log, and if not, then you guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you later. Bye.